people suddenly thought thinking how we are supposed to again effectively use this mechanism of a democracy. Now when we see what is the parallel of governance and administration in an Indian language, I went through that. Okay, governance came from France, administration came from Italy. What was there in India? So I came across only one word which described what was in India is Paripalana. It was called Raja Paripalanam. In English it will called maintenance. So it is not a governance or an administration that was an Indian concept, but a maintenance of a society, a maintenance of an organization, a maintenance of a life force. So when we look at something from the point of view of maintenance, then it becomes an inclusive concept where the person who is doing it is a part of the society. He is not alienated as in the concept of a governance or an administration, but he is in the society and on behalf of others he maintains it. And that's a concept again which was the cause of one of the root causes where French Revolution took place, where one of the founding fathers of French Revolution, the great Rousseau said, who also said that man was born free but everywhere is in chains. Before he said, the first person who thought it to enclose a piece of land and call it his and found a few gullible people to believe it was in the real sense the founder of a civil society. I think it is Rousseau said. And this was the burning concept which caught up with the French Revolution, where the basic concept of capital and land owningness itself was questioned. Karl Marx subsequently said every capital is dead labor. What was yesterday labor has consolidated itself and become the capital in the hands of somebody else. The same concept they said at that time, how did somebody become an owner of a land? All land belonged to everybody. Then somebody who was bright enough enclosed it and said it is mine. And he also made some people accept it. Okay, that is yours, this is mine, we all are going to make it ours. So those who were not shareholders at that point of time lost the share. The Mother Earth was divided between some people who were very brilliant at the initial point of time. And they themselves called as kings, emperors, monarchs, everything. So this concept came into the mind of the French people when they found that there was a very great divide between the rulers and the ruled, the governors and the governed. That when the masses were going without food, the rulers had no problem about it. They continued with their lifestyle as it was above, everywhere. So that consternation, actually French Revolution comes after the great American Revolution. But American Revolution was in respect of one class or community or a group against a foreign ruler, like in India. But in France, it was against their own rulers. That's why historians call the French Revolution much more grander than an American Revolution. Subsequently, a Russian Revolution comes. So the concept of how somebody comes in possession of property and how somebody, by virtue of being in possession of property, starts dictating to others was the fundamental point where democracy was born. If you apply that, we will understand that even now in society we find that somebody, by virtue of either being born in a great family or by virtue of being born to rich parents or by being in a position of having passed a particular examination at a particular point of time, they are able to dictate the course of events for the rest of the people in the country. And they design things, they decide things as they think is best in their perspective, not necessarily in the collective understanding. Now, this anomaly we find that is leading to all these situations which we were earlier talking about, even in this department, where the very careless working conditions are not taken care of, it is not remedied, no amount of cries or petitions are going to be of any help. Now if we go into the freedom movement of this country, more than a century ago, precisely at the time of Swami Vivekananda being at the Chicago conference. We will not believe that we thought that when Swami Vivekananda goes to the conference at Parliament of Religions and then he exposes the cause of the Indians, he shows the merit of the Indian people, its culture, its greatness. Until then the West did not realize it. But at that point of time, very precisely during those months, there was another young man who was only 20 to 21 years old, who had got his education in England and come back to India, and he was writing in the journals in which he wrote a series of articles called Old Lamps for the New, in which he said the Congress party, which was at that time advocating the freedom of the country, was not really representing the Indian masses. They were only wailing away their time in placing memorandums, and that is not going to fetch us anywhere. And he said that if the masses of the country are not going to be involved in this movement, real freedom will not be attained. Then the top brass of the Congress party at that time, people like Feroz Shah Mehta, they said, no, what do the masses know? They are not intelligent. They are not educated. They do not know what is good for themselves. Then how do we allow them to get into all this and ask them to make decisions for us? It is not possible. In their interest, we will do decision making. We know what is in their best interest. Only for their sake, we are doing all these things. We will do it. At that point of time, this young man says, no. Throughout the world, the experience is that wherever the masses are not involved, you do not get into real freedom. It only gets transferred into the hands of very few people. But this youngster's articles, the publishers were afraid to publish. They asked him to modify it. And subsequently, even after getting it published, he became a very leading leader of the Congress party. Even then, his language could be understood neither by his compatriots nor by the administrators of England, and he was termed a terrorist, sent to jail. He was none other than Aravind Ghosh. But those seeds which he laid at that point of time subsequently became reason for a person like Mahatma Gandhi to come and bring up a mass movement. But for the pioneering effect of Aravind Ghosh, which was not understood at that point of time, a Gandhi could not have emerged in the Indian scene. A mass movement may not have taken place. And without a mass movement, a real, even then persons like Rajaji said, English people decided to transfer power at that point of time only because they knew that otherwise they would not have had any power to transfer. Because the mass movement took such a shape that the British people found that they are not going to be able to administer this country anymore. It's better that we will give it to them. So, if for that movement itself the masses had to be involved, afterwards what happened is again, because it was not a very, very fruitful experience, again some persons have taken control of that, and again some coteries have formed. It became from democracy on record, it became a oligarchy. Now it has come a situation where already those who are established in the scenario alone can exist. A new entrant will be suffocated. That is the scenario. So again, what has happened to this democracy, so-called democracy? People can only cast their votes, decide upon their candidates, and they do not know whether actually a candidate who gets the majority will win, whether he is going to decide. Ultimately, his power also is surrendered to some other body called a political party, which ultimately decides on what should be done, taking into consideration their coalition, dharma and everything. So where does the individual stand who has cast his vote thinking that this vote is going to make him survive for another 5 years? Now, the same thing if you apply for a body, a human body, because that is what one organization we can understand very easily. If a human body has to function, how does it function? A society is like a body. Whether it is a microcosm or a macrocosm, the concepts will be remaining the same. So for an earlier easy understanding of what is a body, an organization, how it should function, you look at a human body. Now we think that the mind is the matter which holds good the human body, it controls the entire body, it controls the system, the nervous system, the muscular system, everything. But one fundamental point that we forget is that the brain, which we call the mind, again that is a different issue. The brain is one part of the body which does not know its own pain. It's the only organ in the body which knows the pain of all other parts of the body. But the human brain doesn't know its own pain. It is the only part of the body which can be operated upon without anesthesia. And if this fundamental concept had been understood by the persons who are governing us or administering us, they would have thought that first they should not be bothered about their own perquisites, their own paraphernalia, their own personal benefits. And if that is not there, automatically the other things they will be able to understand. As long as the human brain is bothered about itself, it cannot be bothered about the pain in the limb. It cannot understand the ulcer in the stomach. It will not be able to understand a heart attack coming. You just imagine what would have happened if the brain was so self-conscious about it. If it was so bothered about itself, we would not have survived, we would have perished. But in spite of that, in spite of an organization having a brain which is so much bothered about itself, which is all-consuming, unsatiable, if we have so far remained as a society, continued and survived, I think God exists. Otherwise it's not possible. Like Walter said, if there was no God, we would have had to invent him. We need not invent him. This is enough proof that but for God, in such a sort of system, you would know. In spite of that, if we have survived, it is only because in each area, in each society, in each department, everywhere, there are certain people, not necessarily at the helm of affairs. There are checks and balances which have been going on. These checks and balances have been giving indications of certain things to come, some decay that is going to set in, that is already set in. And these symptoms, one unfortunate thing that has been happening in this country, in our department also, is that we have been only doing firefighting. We have not been bothered about the long-term remedies. We only just to go and try to find a quick fix solution for all these things. And immediately, if the headache is gone, we forget about the remaining things. The problem for the headache would have been in your stomach. You don't realize it, you don't bother to diagnose it, therefore you do not bother to treat it also. And as long as that remains there, the headache is going to again come back, and you will never know why. You will go on passing time with anacins. And now we are on anacins. We do not want the headache, that's all. We are not bothered about the diagnosis of the remaining part of the body. And the remaining part of the body keeps decaying. And that is what we have been seeing in the society, in our department also. And in another 10 years, we do not know where we will be. We see there is a very clear, demarcated reduction in the standards of running of the departments. Like outside in the political economy also. The people are expected to just go on working without be bothering about whether the person can go on working like that. I was joking. We call America a capitalistic country, but still, if we were in America, and if our bosses were in America, almost all our bosses would have been arrested and stripped by this time for making us overwork, overnight, over the weekends, without any break. Yes or no? That's how things are going on. And by virtue of not taking a decision on a Supreme Court ruling, the Supreme Court ruling said that either you recruit people on an All India merit exam and give them an All India posting, or recruit them at a regional level and give them regional posting, not both of this mixed together. That's what the decision of the Supreme Court was there, the Radhesham Singh case. That was in 1996. From 1996 onwards up to 2006 or 7, the government of India did not take a decision properly. And the last decision they took was also a very perverse decision, where they will recruit even an LDC at an All India level. A person in Pune will be sent to Guwahati, some person in Delhi will be sent down to south in Kanyakumari. An LDC, how will they expect to survive? How they can go to their family? By an All India exam. And now, very strange situation has happened that inspectors who are drawn on an all India merit list, our Central Board of Excise and Customs still is thinking on whether they should be placed on all India seniority at all. It is a fait accompli. Somebody who has been drawn on an all India merit list has to necessarily be all India seniority. You cannot expect somebody who has got a lower mark just because he has been posted somewhere else, not because of his own volition, will be promoted just before somebody who has got a more mark or he is posted elsewhere, and there is a stagnation in that zone alone. So even a wrong decision, they took 10 years. There was a big gap. There was no recruitment. And next what happened? Those who are recruited, by the time they have come into the department, we should understand, many of the seniors fail to understand this very great concept change. When we were recruited to the department, we were recruited for life, unless we on our own choose to leave the department on voluntary retirement or a resignation. But those who have now been recruited after 2004 are just like contract employees. They don't have pension benefits. So that means that the government of India has not bothered to take care of what will happen after they retire, of the families of the individuals. And what moral authority does the government of India have to ask them to work 24 hours? We were asked to be 24 hours government servants. Not that meaning that we should work 24 hours. Many of the higher officials have a misconception about it. I had the occasion to remind one of them. The basic excise manual, many of them have not seen. Many of the joint commissioners or deputy commissioners or assistant commissioners who have joined or in the department would not have seen the basic excise manual, which gives, like in any other department, when you say 24 hours government servant, it doesn't mean that you should go on working for 20 hours. Even a machine doesn't do that. It cannot do that. Your computer will hang if you do that. It only means that round the clock, when there is an emergency, you should be available when you are called. And you are supposed to be compensated for that. The compensation also have been laid down in the excise manual, like in any other department. But neither did we bother to use those things, nor our higher officials have bothered to know about these things. Like in evolution, we lose certain limbs when we do not use it. These are all certain benefits we are going to lose because we do not put them into use. Because we are not aware of it. Because we are not aware how much our forefathers have fought to get these benefits. How so many people were killed on the streets of various places for asking for those small benefits which we have today. And they are being slowly eroded, taken away. Whether it is in the concept of pension or any other perks or benefits, the rights which were gained slowly get eroded because we do not remain conscious of how it was happening, how it had happened. And that is again the same problem. If the body itself is conscious about what it wants, because again, as I said, why I said brain is not the place where everything is controlled. It is a conception. Yes, from an outer view, it is a brain which controls. But increasingly, of course, though in India it was earlier also accepted, increasingly the Western medicine also has started accepting that knowledge is not in the brain. It is not in the mind also. It is not something that is exclusive property of the mind, whether it is human or anything else, that every cell in the body has its own mind, has its own intelligence. The only thing is, every cell in the body has the intelligence and potential as that of any other organ or the entire human body itself, but it performs only according to what is required of it. And therefore, intelligence is not the prerogative, exclusive prerogative of a particular area in the body itself. Once we are conscious, it has been demonstrated by very many methods. And unless every cell of the body becomes conscious about this fact, once it becomes conscious about that fact, then no more diagnosis is required by a doctor. The body will be able to heal itself because it knows where it is wrong. And that way, though we call ourselves a sixth-sensed animals and all, and the top in the evolution, many of the animals are better put to take care of their own body than the human beings, because we have been distracted by our mind, away from our body. What is its requirement? Rather, the animals know where it is wrong, how it is wrong, how to put it in place. We lost track of it. Similarly, the method of gaining knowledge, there was an experiment which is very widely, which was a breakthrough in psychoanalysis. 40 white rats were taken. They were all put in the same cage. The scientist took the first rat, named them on their back 1 to 40, and took the first white rat, killed it by electrocution. Then he chose the third rat, that was also killed. By the time he took the fifth one, all the odd numbered rats fell down as if unconscious or near dead in the same cage, whereas none of the white rats which were having the even number on their back had any problem. They were running around. It is amazing. Nobody believed it. How it's possible that the rats will know what is even and odd? How will the rats know what is written on their back? How does the rat know what is in the mind of the scientist? Because even this scientist also doesn't have exact identity of the rat. He only has decided to kill the odd numbered rats. They have ultimately come to the conclusion and named it that there is a collective unconscious